Thanks, Jay. I'd like to thank everyone for taking the time to hear the NorthStar story. Also, special thanks to Jay and Gwen for providing this opportunity. NorthStar Gold Corp is a private company that, just hang on a sec here. I'll make some, this is the obligatory cautionary statements. I will be making some forward-looking statements. NorthStar, I mentioned, has been a private company for 11 years, and we were very happy on December 31st of this last year. We're a month old. We completed a $3 million IPO, issuing 10 million shares at 30 cents, and obtained a listing on the CSC, the ticker NorthStar Gold Corp. So we're live and we're public, and we're very proud of that. So as I mentioned, the company's been private for about 11 years. During that time, we've raised about $7 million and spent that exploring primarily in the northeastern Ontario and the Kirkland Lake region. Our flagship project is the Miller Gold property. It's the historic Boston Creek mining camp. It's situated 18 kilometers southeast of Kirkland Lake. And we also have two other 100% owned properties, the Bryce Gold property, intrusive hosted gold property, and the Milestone, which is a copper nickel cobalt property. Why Kirkland Lake? As you just heard previously, we're just on the other side of the line from Radisson. 24 million ounces of gold have come out of that camp from 7 mines, this century, so it's pretty cool. Part of NorthStar's going public initiative involved corporate restructuring and augmenting the board and management group. This slide just illustrates we've got a very accomplished complement of highly skilled professionals, experienced miners, exploration geologists, or exploration, development, financing, capital market investment. So we've got a very solid team to take the company forward. On the capital structure side of things, as I mentioned, prior to going public, the company undertook a 6-for-1 rollback, and we currently have 35.3 million shares out. This is post-IPO, and on a fully diluted basis, 41.7 million shares. You can see that management directors have a good chunk of this, 24%. And yes, we're a fairly tight company. Cash on hand is $2 million. We have no debt, and I guess our market cap would be around $10.5 million. So getting to the Miller property, it's like I mentioned, it's 18 kilometers southeast of Kirkland Lake. It's also 18 kilometers southeast of Kirkland Lake Gold's South Macassa mine complex. And we're the Miller property. It's 1,100 hectares, and it shares a lot of very important geological similarities to Macassa, in addition to the other some of the other deposits in the Kirkland Lake camp. I guess primary feature is the occurrence of high-grade gold in quartz veins with tellurides, and you don't see that very often. And when you do, you see high-grade gold, and our Miller Gold property shares that characteristic. Also very important is the location of these systems and gold mineralization along the breaks, along the big breaks. You've got the Cadillac Larder break and first order structures at Macassa. You got the main, the 04, and more recently discovered or worked amalgamated break. If you've been following Kirkland Lake Gold, they're working those breaks and they're finding incredible grades, and new mineralization is a mile deep. So that's quite exciting. And on the Miller property, we've got the similar style of mineralization. It's similar controls. We've got the Catherine Fault, which is a first order structure, and you can see it actually joins up with the Kirkland Lake break. And we believe that with the style of mineralization, and we know that the age of the mineralization is exactly the same as Kirkland Lake, so we've got a compelling argument that we could be tapping the same gold source, magmatic gold source, as a Kirkland Lake camp. And the big difference is that Kirkland Lake's been going for quite a while, and they're over a mile deep. And the Miller, it's fairly new. Well, it's been around for a while, but its exploration's only gone down about 300 meters. So the property is situated over a very large hydrothermal magmatic gold system, alkalic in nature. Those are the right kind of rocks. If you've been hearing the talks here lately, alkalic systems are the best when it comes to finding high-grade gold and bulk tonnage. The property is centered over you can see the Catherine Fault kind of running through the middle. It's a long-lived, protracted area with gold mineralization and alteration and deformation. Central also to this is at least three of those orange colored, they're cyanite stocks, they're alkalic, and they've come up with the deformation and with the mineralization. They're extremely altered and they are mineralized in their own right. In the early 1930s, there was a number of, there was the Miller Independence mine on the southeast or the very bottom of the property. They were focused on mining narrow high-grade gold veins, flat-lying gold veins with tellurides. And in 1987, a group came in and drilled 37 holes and established a historic estimate of 270,000 ounces of gold at 11.5 grams per ton gold, so fairly significant grade. In the northwest of the property, just outside the old historic Barry Hollinger mine, and they were mining in the early 30s, and they produced 70,000 ounces of gold at 11.2 grams per ton from a similar style of vein, and that vein actually dips at depth and extends onto our property. In addition to that, as I mentioned, these cyanites, they are mineralized. They have been drilled, and worked in the early 1930s. And on the planet cyanite, we have an exploration target there of 3 to 5 million tons. That's averaging, could run between 1 and 3 grams per ton gold for up to 500,000 ounces of gold. And this exploration target, it's not a 43-101 equivalent or anything, but it's substantiated by a lot of past drilling and trenching, and I'll show you a bit more on that. So we've got a project and a property that's got a lot of historic work and a historic resource and some excellent exploration upside. This is the illustration of the model we have for the current Miller Independence resources on the number one vein and the D vein. You can see, maybe not, but anyway, it was predicated up primarily on short vertical holes. And you can see below illustrations of what those veins actually look like on surface through the mapping and sampling that was conducted by NorthStar. The actual number one vein was subject to a bulk sampling program in 2016, and the company had mined up to 1,000 tons, and that was processed at the nearby Camflo milling facility and returned 170 ounces of gold and at a 5 gram per ton cut-off grade. There's a lot of dilution associated with that. But the important element of that was that the metallurgical work that was done on it was very, very encouraging. It shows that we got similar style of mineralization as a Kirkland camp. And it's got the same metallurgical properties. Aerial view of the property is road accessible. There's not much overburden. Surface stripping is very, very effective. NorthStar has done that since 2000, when they acquired the property. We've had the property since 2012 and put $2 million into it, and surface stripping has been a big part of that. And based on the work that we've been doing, we're finding a lot of vertical structures in there that actually carry gold. And when you're dealing with a property and a historic data set that's primarily vertical holes, you know that there's a great deal of upside with coming in and just drilling angled holes. So between 2012 2015, NorthStar completed $2 million worth of exploration. You can see we did some IP, 3D IP, and drilled just under 6,000 meters and 27 holes. And the results are twofold. You've got the narrow, high-grade gold telluride veins that occur both within the volcanics as well as in the cyanites. And then you've got these broad stringer zones that occur in the margins of the cyanites, the allied cyanite and the planet cyanite, and even in the Mueller, that are lower grade but are very encouraging and supportive for the potential of an open cut bulk tonnage type mining situation. So we've got grades in 1 gram to over 100 meters, plus we're very encouraged by that, and we plan on doing more drilling to chase, further define these targets on the cyanites. And you can see by some of the drilling on the number 1 vein, 11 grams over 4 meters, 86 grams over half a meter. So we're very pleased with these numbers, and we've got a number of new targets to chase. As I mentioned, this is the Planet Cyanide, just a little more detail of where that exploration target is, and you can see some of the past drilling that's been done through there and the sampling. 23 meters of 2.4 grams gold, 147 meters of 0.6 grams. So the boundaries of these cyanites are extremely attractive targets, and yeah, we're going to be focusing on them for sure. So the company also has 2 other properties, 100% owned. The Bryce property was the main focus of the company for a number of years. $4 million has gone into it. Drilled about 24,000 meters, and you can see that there's some. It's an intrusive hosted porphyry-style gold mineralized system, but it also has some very compelling VMS, precious metal enriched VMS results. 0.9 grams over 80 meters, 2 grams over 26 meters. So in its own right, it's a very attractive and open exploration target for the company. And our other project is the Milestones, copper nickel cobalt property. It was a former Teck property. It overlays the Diadem deposit, and it's got. We haven't done much work on this, but we own the whole thing, and it's got some very compelling grades. So our strategy with these projects is just to bring them in a 43-101 space, make them qualifying properties, and then just look at opportunities to either option them out or spin them out. Our focus is going to be the Miller Gold property. So what are we doing this year? We're fully permitted and we're fully funded to undertake a $1.1 million exploration program on Miller. That program will entail a fairly substantial and geophysical program that will include gravity and 3D IP. We're also going to undertake 3,500 meters of drilling in 25 holes. As I mentioned previously, this drilling is going to be pretty much dedicated to targeting the historic estimates, both the high grade and the Miller Independence, as well as around the cyanites, looking for the bulk tonnage potential, additional stripping, structural studies, and so we should have some pretty solid news flow here going forward. We're just getting out of the gate. It's taken us a while to get this thing rolling, but we're really happy to be there. And as I mentioned on the other properties right now, that'll be a modest. We're just going to get them get 43-101 reports on them and try to move them later in the season. So in summary, I hope I've helped you realize that NorthStar does represent a very attractive exploration investment opportunity. We're the new kid on the block, but we've been around for a while. But we've got a property that in the Miller Gold property that's very compelling. It's got some amazing geological similarities, and that as Kirkland Lake, and we're very anxious to take that on. We got a solid board and management group that's dedicated to making things go. And we're fully funded, and we're going to be undertaking our program here. Geophysics is going to start at the end of the month. Thank you.